another dollar, another death battle prediction. Welcome, Hedge Fleet, to quite possibly the most strangest thing I've ever done. Better let Buster Souls know that I've started before we begin. So, yeah, prediction for quite possibly the most bizarre choice of a matchup ever made. Yeah, so in case if you don't know what's on the screen right now, yeah, SpongeBob SquarePants versus Super Friends Aquaman, of all things. Like, what? Also, I better do the call, that way he's in here. So yeah, joining me today is the one that did the reaction with me yesterday, Buster Souls. Once he answers. And the dogs are barking. So yeah, like I said, well, Buster Souls didn't answer right away. I mean, hello. Okay, I'm gonna try it again. Cause I can't really do the Aquaman, the SpongeBob part without him, cause he's the one that's researching SpongeBob. There we go. Alrighty. So, yes, joining me today is Buster Souls on this most bizarre matchup I've ever witnessed.
Yeah, honestly.
Not only did it take me forever to find shit for Super Friends Aquaman, but the fact that the Versus Wiki didn't have shit for him, except for post-crisis Aquaman, but that's not what we're even talking about.
Yep.
So, let's start.
If you search Aquaman on the Death Battle fan, you can barely get any information on Super Friends Aquaman since the reveal.
Yeah. So the only way I was able to get information, and if sorry if this is all wrong, but what can you do? It's a prediction. Not everything we'll get is right. So the only way I was able to get information for Super Friends Aquaman is from the Super Friends wiki of all things, which includes not just Super Friends, it also includes his own TV series as well. Yeah, that's a thing. So, before we get into the fucking skid marks that is Super Friends Aquaman, let's start with the fucking nice clean pants that is the SpongeBob.
Well, I already have information on SpongeBob from the Death Battle fan wiki, so I got this covered. Okay, so we all know what the yellow sponge we're familiar with. SpongeBob SquarePants. Lives in Bikini Bottom, is friends with an idiotic starfish. An annoying squid has his neighbor, works for a restaurant with a greedy crab, friends with a talking squirrel from land, and enemies against the miniature tyrant we all familiar with, Plankton. I'm not gonna lie, SpongeBob has been through very intense things from not only his shows, but from his video games as well. And I'm not gonna lie, SpongeBob has very weird peripherals that he can pull out of his own Squarepants that he can bring into battle. Like, for example, his spatula. We're all familiar with it. Easy, breezy. And according to the official Death Battle fan wiki, it says here that, hang on, that he frequently used his melee weapon, even as the video games. Sentient, according to the episode All That Glitters, and hydrodynamic with port-in storable attachments and turbo dive. He also has a rock god form and wizard with a wizard costume and Goofy Goober guitar that shoots lasers and he can fly in this form. And the best song of all, Goofy Goober Rock, plays while in this form, and the song is a weapon. He also has his signature bubble blower that he can use for other things like bombs, spinning, bashing, bouncing, bowling, and his personal friend Bubble Buddy. He also has pain absorption after getting his butt kicked by his so-called bully, and he barely did any damage to him. It felt like nothing. Then he has his own regeneration. He can regenerate his arms so fast that he can eat them like popcorn. He can regenerate them. He can also be regenerate from being liquefied, being burnt to ash, dust, shredded pieces, etc. His regeneration makes him difficult to kill. He can also reproduce by budding for some reason. He also has a ball form and he has immense stamina. He also has his own Quickster suit that makes him faster than the human eye. One time, he asked the viewers if they want to see him run around from their mountain back, and he asked them to do, and he asked him if he wants to do it again. He also knows karate or karate, according to him. He does a ground slam. He has near invincibility, extendable limbs, teleportation, matter recreation, summoned in Pretty Patties after teleporting, sand manipulation, shapeshifting, and mind manipulation resistance. Even when Plankton took out SpongeBob's brain, putting a robot and forced him to make a Krabby Patty, his attempts to control his mind did not work at all. It failed. Plankton's fruitcake, which can turn people into jerks, did not have any sort of effect on SpongeBob whatsoever. I think I remember that Christmas special. And when Plankton attempted to sabotage his mind with hypnosis, it failed to work, according to Fear of a Krabby Patty. He also had Toon Force, as we're all familiar with. And according to his said Toon Force, it lets SpongeBob do anything as something to read minds, manipulate dreams, fight, or wear mind control. You can also bring logic and do crazy things. He also has a magical page that he got from a magical book from that pirate from the movie, which is in his mind. The page can warp reality, change or rewrite history, grant wishes, and change the future. It doesn't have limits. Bubbles the Dolphin said that the page has the power to destroy the universe, which means SpongeBob can't wish beyond it. You can also change it to his superhero persona, Invincible. He also has a bubble creating antenna. He has super strength, super speed, unlimited stamina, indestructible bubbles, and the ability to breathe on land. And I'm not gonna lie, when I searched SpongeBob's feats, his feats were ridiculous, and I'm not even joking. And I don't know if I can say it all at once, but I'm gonna do it. So his feats was completely oblivious to getting his butt kicked by flats nonstop for several days straight, dragged an anchor for 7 miles, according to the office employee of the month, unraveled the fabric of reality, fabric of the universe by pulling a single thread, defeated a pirate in a sword fight using only his spatula, saved Bikini Bottom from Plankton's rogue robots, entered and escaped the Forbidden Shell City, which no one else prior has ever returned from, brought back King Neptune's crown, saved the Krabby Patty secret. All of Bikini Bottom's weight, drove a car blindfolded. However, driving blindfolded is illegal, so SpongeBob didn't get his license. Survived an explosion that sent him in space. Defeated Magu, an ancient evil being who was so powerful that he was going to destroy the Nickelodeon multiverse. Can survive the vacuum of space. Survived a fall from space. Survived a black hole. Well, up for debate, it was performed a glitch in the SpongeBob Squarepants movie game, so I don't know if it counts. And caught every single jellyfish in Jellyfish Fields, although no named friend capture was voluntary. Worked at the Krusty Krab for an eternity. Outcooked a patty making machine which at its maximum could produce hundreds at a time. And I'm going to have to send 2 videos for you in the chat because you're going to have to react to these 2 feats. He rotated gravity and survived an explosion that was caused by a pie after tripping on a pebble. Hang on.
Okay. That means I'm gonna
There's
have
more.
to. That means I'll have to mute these because copyright reasons. If
Yeah, but still, you're going to have to react to them. Oh, of course, I can't send them because the Discord Nitro.
ah,
Hang on.
that's fine. I mean, so So pretty much, SpongeBob basically is a Toon Force user.
Yeah, but there's more feats that you're going to have to face through, and it's beyond ridiculous.
Okay, I'm gonna have to do a little muting of the YouTube for this. I'm gonna have to make sure. Good thing I muted this. So okay, So he's rotating the world with a wrench.
Yep, while Patrick was falling to his doom. Hang on a second.
And this was them trying to rebuild SpongeBob's house. Okay, so, oh, and Squidward gets an exploding pie in the face. Okay. So basically, the pie was a nuke that leveled the entirety of Bikini Bottom. Okay, and SpongeBob apparently tanked that shit like it was nothing. Well then, so yeah, he's basically a Toon Force user. So SpongeBob is basically a Toon Force user, and has survived explosions. Okay, so yeah. So, let me try to unfuckle the situation of those two videos I just witnessed. So he literally rotated the world with the wrench, causing Patrick to fall all over the place, and was able to defy gravity by nailing wood together, albeit not great, causing said wood to slam onto Patrick's hand. All that just for them to rebuild SpongeBob's house. Then, let's not get started with the exploding pie in Squidward's face. Literally, that had to be a nuke, which I'm not great with the numbers math with sometimes, because I have, especially when it comes to nuclear range. Yeah. So basically, judging from what Buster Schultz told me, SpongeBob is basically a Toon Force user. And I don't know when he'll be back. But yeah, so far everything looks all dandy for everyone. In terms of like the feats and everything. So he's basically similar to that of Popeye. Rubber hose animation. From what I'm guessing. So yeah. That though, I'm probably guessing that was all of SpongeBob's feats. So, I literally had to try to unfuck the situation here. So basically, SpongeBob was not only was SpongeBob was able to defy gravity with the wrench, and also trying to put together a house, but somehow SpongeBob survived a exploding pie, getting splatted in the face on Squidward
While he tripped on a pebble.
while tripping on a pebble. So,
Yeah.
so in other words, he's basically a Toon Force user, similar to Popeye, Bugs Bunny, and God knows what else.
You think that's all? There's more to his feats, and it's even more ridiculous. Well, he also beat King Neptune at a cook-off, almost became a god, got to live on land, and made King Neptune his cooking disciple. Although he is consistently portrayed as a notorious horrible driver, he professionally piloted an airplane despite having no background experience. From the episodes Have You Seen the Snail and Sandcastles in the Sand, and destroyed a moon with a Jack-in-a-Box toy. I'm not kidding.
A Jack in the Box toy.
Yes, I'm serious. His feats are ridiculous. Although there is his weaknesses.
Oh, goody.
Strength feats are inconsistent, frequently depicted with absurdly below average lifting strength. He's unable to lift. One time he was unable to lift a drink, unable to lift boxing gloves, failing to open a bottle of ketchup, breaking his own fingers in an attempt to crack his knuckles, although this may actually be a strength feat. Struggling to lift a small stick with 2 marshmallows, his idea of an intense workout is lifting a bar with 2 teddy bears serving as the weight. Once had the bar fall on him and needed Patrick to get it off of him. And Sandy suggested a good exercise for SpongeBob would be to practice flipping channels with his TV remote. An exercise so straightful that it caused his arms to fall off. His immunity to pain and regeneration is inconsistent. Sometimes he's absurdly vulnerable to pain, but sometimes he isn't. He has gotten nearly destroyed and even temporarily killed on numerous occasions, such as when he and Patrick were relentlessly smashed by 2 wrestlers, being burnt into ash, turning into a lifeless sponge along with Patrick into a lifeless sea star when they were in Shell City or at Sandy's Tree Dome, and almost drowned in a tar pit, eaten by infected whelks, and other near-death experiences. The magic pencil, despite its immense power, is close range and can easily get ripped from his possession. However, this may not be much of an issue as he always summons a new one. He's also childish, gullible, annoying, and mentally unstable. For a long time outside of water will eventually dehydrate him and kill him, much like Aquaman. Healing can paralyze SpongeBob and kill him in minutes. Panics absurdly when trying to drive a car, causing severe damage as he crashes into things. He can drive a sandwich car, drive blindfolded, and pilot an airplane, however. The magical page, like I said, does have limits, so SpongeBob can't wish anything beyond that. He's also extremely dumb and thus can be easily manipulated or controlled by others, such as when Plankton managed to control him into giving him a Krabby Patty, which nearly succeeded alongside another point when he was trying to convince him that he has become nice, getting possessed by his abrasive side, having an earthworm inside him. The Tattletale Strangler learned SpongeBob by getting him into his own house, only to nearly strangle him to death. Master Udo on Karate Island manipulating and trapping him there with only Sandy to rescue him, or when Screw got into inadvertently messing up the Krusty Krab. He's also a Sunday-holic. Eating too much ice cream will make SpongeBob hungover and intoxicated. Highly afraid of butterflies for some reason. Most impressive feats are usually gags that are debatable to take seriously. If his ego gets big, so will his head, literally.
So yeah, you thought this was gets all crazy, right? Well, not anymore. It's time to turn up the vomit volume with Super Friends.
Okay,
So, typical. Okay, so let's get to the part where he has the powers and abilities to, and the stuff that we all know. Well, we already know the origin of Aquaman, duh. So there's no need to recite it. But I will say this version of Aquaman comes from Earth 1A, or Earth 1, in the DC multiverse. So yeah, so he's a metahuman, Atlantean, Base, Jelly, Satellite, Hall of Justice, Hidden Layer, Aqualab, Poseidonus, capital of Atlantis. Yeah, you thought these were weird? Oh no, it gets weirder from here. Let's start by saying that he also has popular catchphrases. Great Atlantis, Great Neptune, by the beard of Poseidon.
Spear of Poseidon?
Yeah. Those are his catchphrases.
He also has an aqua scooter for some reason.
He has a pet seahorse named Storm. Really?
Friends Aquaman done.
Yep, I don't need to see anymore. Bye. Just kidding, but no, seriously. Pet octopus named Topo. He has a son named Arthur Curry Jr. Orm Curry, I'm guessing that's his half brother. Mara, his wife. Atlanta, his mother. Tom Curry, his father. So typical Aquaman stuff. Up to the hidden base and all that. So, anyways, powers. Atlantean physiology. Atlanteans are offshoots of humanity that are biologically adapted to deep ocean environment. All their abilities are byproducts of their bodies being adapted to survive unprotected in the tremendous pressures of the ocean depths. Enhanced physiology. His bloodstream is filled with the amino acid that keeps the body from freezing in the ocean depths, although his own temperature is naturally quite high, allowing his muscles the heat they need to swim at such high speeds. This amphibious physiology / hybrid physiology means he can survive indefinitely underwater or on land, though he would still need occasional contact with water to survive.
I feel like we should have our own versus show someday.
Yeah, if I knew how to animate, sadly.
Well, we can find somebody else who's good at animation, but we have to pay them for it. So, yeah.
This length can be prolonged by the humidity in the air. He has superhuman strength, can lift approximately 8 tons. Superhuman stamina, superhuman speed. Aquaman can swim at superhuman speed. Superhuman durability. He can survive at the depths up to 3,400 feet below the surface level. His body contains fluids to adjust that adjust to give him buoyancy at varying depths. His body also produces gases that push out against the ocean pressures as heavily as they push in, preventing him from being crushed at great depths. His body is also highly impervious to physical injury. Telepathy. Aquaman considered himself and Wonder Woman to be telepathy experts. Oh yeah, I forgot that Wonder Woman in this Super Friends show actually had telepathy, but I'll let it slide. He had an ability he called aquatic telepathy, which allowed him to telepathically communicate with sea creatures, typical Aquaman. This superpower also seemed to allow him the ability to telepathically communicate with Jaina while she was in the form of a sea-dwelling life form. Animal control. He can control the minds of virtually any marine creature, forcing them to do his will. Hydrokinesis and water control. He inherited the ability of mystically control water and water-based solutions for a variety of effects. He can manipulate water currents, create whirlpools, and boil or freeze vast bodies of water. Superhuman agility, superhuman reflexes, enhanced senses. Aquaman has sonar hearing, allowing him to zero in on submarines and anything else in the dark watery depth. He also has the ability to see murky depths of the ocean, allows him exceptional night vision while on land. Tempest has excellent close range vision, and he can see particularly well in low light. He is particularly colorblind and almost unable to distinguish between black, green, and blue.
Really? He's colorblind?
Apparently. This version.
I also found 29 years old.
This version's 29? I'm not sure. It doesn't say his age. Anyway. Abilities: Oceanography. He has an encyclopedic knowledge of the oceanography and oceanology. Marine biology. He is also quite familiar with the creatures of the deep. Tactical analysis, advanced hand-to-hand combat, diplomacy, swimming, and leadership. He is the king of his country, the leader of a nation.
Now that I think about it, what other ocean character could SpongeBob fight against instead of like Gumball, Super Friends Aquaman, or Chowder?
Well, who knows? Now, here comes the weaknesses. Water deprivation. If Aquaman stays out of the water for an hour or so, he will start to weaken and eventually die. Power limitation. His control over marine life was not absolute, as he couldn't always take control of all forms of underwater life. In fact, the more intelligent they were, the less likely he could take control. Dolphins and other cetacean species were usually too smart for him to control, so he instead would telepathically ask for their help.
I'm trying to consider what the fight would be like. 2D animation, 3D.
It's probably, judging by the fact that SpongeBob's a 2D character, I'm probably going to presume it's going to be a hand-drawn animation.
Of course. Why wouldn't it be?
Because both of these versions are cartoon characters.
Yeah.
Still, there were other life forms that were more hostile in nature that were less likely to help Aquaman, even more likely to attack him. Transportation. Aqua Scooter, Storm, the Seahorse, and the Double Dolphin. Aquaman sub. Yes,
Wow.
Aquaman has a submarine. And his weapons, well, Trident and Neptune.
That's not going to help him against this fight from SpongeBob.
Yeah, and don't get your hopes up that this isn't like the comic book version, because the comic book version has way more broken than you might realize.
What makes you say that?
Well, for one, why would Aquaman need a aqua scooter or a submarine?
Yeah. Meanwhile, some people were waiting for Ed versus Patrick.
So yeah. And the first episode appearances, the Superman Aquaman Hour of Adventure, 1967 through 68. Aquaman segments, The Adventures of Aquaman. That was his first appearance before he ended up being on the show with the Super Friends. So affiliation: Super Friends, Justice League of America, Justice League Detroit.
Wait?
Yeah, Detroit.
Isn't that the place where its crime rate started to increase day by day?
It probably was. Also, his apprentice is apparently Garth/Aqualad.
I also keep forgetting that there's a game called Detroit Become Human.
Yeah, but
Crime rate.
Yeah, but it's not related to.
No, I know.
So yeah, as much as I think a DC character, even though this is loosely based on a DC character, I don't think this version of Aquaman has a way to take out SpongeBob permanently.
Yeah, I know.
So it's not even a remotely close fight at this point.
He's just gonna get clapped.
Like, he's gonna get clapped by a Toon Force user.
Give me a second.
So yeah, this is just going to be a curb stomp, and we all know it. Like, this version of Aquaman is way worse than the comic book version, and yet none of the stats that we've said today will probably help him in this fight against SpongeBob, because, well, SpongeBob is essentially a Toon Force user. From all the description that Buster Souls has told me, and don't get me wrong, I grew up with Super Friends, but I was barely familiar with SpongeBob, but thankfully now I realized just how busted SpongeBob can be. I'm kind of curious how SpongeBob will prevail. 'Cause reasons.
Yeah, Like I said, he managed to pick apart the fabric of the universe by pulling a single piece of thread.
Ugh. Definitely a Toon Force user. Pretty much, Toon Force is known to affect the world around the user.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't think this version of Aquaman is gonna survive.
It's been around since, like, Looney Tunes has been around for a while, and we all know how that works.
Even around the time of Popeye. Like, Popeye was the era of rubber hose animation.
Let's not forget that one time he ended up beating up one of his animators and tore apart a film reel according to Wiz and Boomstick.
Not just that, he basically beat two versions of God. One in the comic strip where God turned off all reality and Popeye just simply ignored it. Why? Because he ate his spinach.
Yeah. No kidding.
So, yeah, and Tom and Jerry is another example too. They're like the kings of slapstick, and they are known to use Toon Force as well.
Yeah, basically they can also control, manipulate their own bodies if they get into constantly, like getting squished really hard, or getting flattened, or getting shaped into a cube like how Tom was.
Or the fact that Tom survives an explosion of TNT constantly.
Yep.
So yeah, that just shows you that if any of those characters can survive with that much durability, so can SpongeBob. And I don't think anything that Aquaman's gonna throw at him is gonna affect SpongeBob. Plus, SpongeBob's brain is so chaotic. I don't think Aquaman's gonna have a way to control SpongeBob.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I highly doubt that this happens, but if they do make this version of Aquaman win, I'm going to be, well, royally shocked.
Yeah, me too.
Because this isn't the comic book version of Aquaman, this is the cartoon version.
Yep.
So
2019. No, he's not SpongeBob. Moving on. And 3 years later, they managed to add him in.
So yeah, Death Battle finally brings in SpongeBob, even though I hardly watched it, but after hearing all the crazy shit that he's done, yeah, I might have underestimated SpongeBob a bit there.
Okay, let's come back 2 weeks later to do a co-op reaction for the fight, and
So yeah, our final thoughts. SpongeBob's most likely going to curb stomp Aquaman. Aquaman is going to get pounded into fine powder for the next Krabby Patty ingredient. I can't believe I'm making this pun.
let's come back 2 weeks later to do a co-op reaction for the fight, and we're gonna share our final thoughts for the fight and see how it went out, and showing our honest opinions. And when the next fight gets revealed for next time, we're gonna do a prediction after the fight.
Totally.
Alright,
And
thank you, Storm, for having me for the prediction. I'll see you 2 weeks later for the co-op reaction, and it was fun being here for the prediction.
no
2 weeks
problem.
later.
No problem. So, yeah, that's our final thoughts. SpongeBob is going to pound off Super Friends Aquaman into fine powder for the next Krabby Patty. I can't believe I'm saying that as a pun, but yeah, SpongeBob stomps. It's not even a remotely close fight. But yeah, till then, Cat has to sign off. I'll see you in the next stream. I will probably get to Fighting Game Tuesday. Maybe. Today. So if I do get it today, great. If not, I'll move it to Thursday. Which is not normal for me. But anyways, till then, your captain of Hedgewolf. signing off. I'll see you in the